Hello everyone, this is Ron Turner at Frontrunner 2020, and welcome. Thank you for joining the inaugural program of Frontrunner 2020. What is Frontrunner 2020? This is something new, and again, thanks to everybody for being here. I see friends on the line that are logged in. I really appreciate your support, and this is something that I'm really committed to. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time, kind of delaying Josh getting started, but the general idea is for candidates at every stage, from having that aspiration to serve all the way up to winning an election, and focused on bringing best practices from the business community and so on. So it's not just a campaign management thing that's out there already, but the development, the branding, bringing in expertise outside of politics, and oh yeah, we'll do the the basic politics stuff too.
One-to-one and the authentic interaction. This is a major philosophical underpinning of all of the work that we do in the new media division at Eagle and Wheeler. Ron brought up a concept called the uncanny valley, which is in animation, if you've got cartoonish characters that look 80 or 85% human, or computer animated characters that look 90 or even 95% human, it's fine and your brain doesn't have a problem with it and you can go along with it. But if they're 98 or 99% human, then it looks really sort of freaky and scary. And it's because it's not authentic. One is obviously fake and the other is trying very hard to be real, but it's not. So when you are talking on behalf of your brand, or you're communicating with people that want to be involved in your campaign or want to further your cause, you have to listen. You can't outsource your communication. You can't let someone do your engagement on your behalf. Because when people interact with a brand, when they tell their friends about, go to this brand's Facebook page or go to this pizza place because this person is really good and I really like that guy. When they interact with a brand, they want to interact with the actual brand. And a terrific example that we've got on the screen here now of someone who does authentic interactions and one-to-one engagements is Mayor Cory Booker of Newark, New Jersey.
I think he is an example of kind of the philosophy of this Frontrunner 2020 series, which is somebody who very elegantly and seamlessly blends his personality, his passion, with his official office responsibilities, and to take your word, in a way that's authentic and not kind of phony and self-promotional.
He uses Twitter to communicate about everything from initiatives that he's a part of, things that he's interested in. People talk to him about they need potholes fixed or the power's out in a building where they need air conditioning. People were tweeting at him locations of people that were snowed in during the blizzard of this last year, and he and a team of first responders, but he personally, were going around the city because of what they were tweeting at him and digging people out of their cars and their homes. So he was like a superhero, and he was using Twitter to say, yeah, we'll be right there. What you see right here is he's got a thing about, he's been profiled in a magazine. But then there's somebody here who says, there's things that are happening. There's a power line or a power pole down. Another good example of this is Rick Perry. Rick Perry doesn't necessarily do the kind of direct personal engagement that Cory Booker does, but Rick Perry was also one of the first sort of upper echelon national level governors in the country, not necessarily from either party, but in the country, to write his own tweets. And I'm sure he had to have a fight with his communication staff about it, but he tweets about everything from I'm at Cabela's buying fishing gear to I'm watching an A&M softball game to we're doing important work today at the Capitol to I'm going to go be on this talk show tonight to we're having an event and I'd like everybody to come. People respond to that because they feel like they have direct access and direct voice, and because it's authentic. And no matter who it is that tweets, it's iPhone typos, it's weird reactions, it's things that maybe in context might feel like they're not necessarily that they don't make all that much sense, but it's unvarnished and it's warts and all, and it's things that people identify with and they feel safe and authentic about interacting with. I actually have two personal stories about that. One, I checked in on Foursquare at the local Firestone here in Denton when I was getting my tires changed. And it said, I'm in Firestone getting my tires changed, and I have that piped to my Twitter account. Within 5 minutes of me tweeting that, at Firestone, the corporate account responded to me and said, thanks for choosing us for your tires. Which is a powerful interaction. Like someone was paying attention, I'm sure it's just a customer service rep at Firestone, but it's someone from Firestone that reacted to me in real time. The best part about this story, though, is that I got home, and I'd gotten an oil change as well, and they'd forgotten to put my oil cap back on. So there was oil everywhere, all over my engine, and it was smoking. And I got on Twitter, being the angry consumer, and said, well, let me tell you guys something. You forgot to put my oil cap back on, and now there's oil everywhere, and I'm very upset. Another 5 minutes go by, and I get a response from Firestone Corporate, and it says, we have alerted the store to your issue. If they don't take care of your problem, you let us know, and we'll fix it from here. Another 5 minutes go by, and I get a message, or I get a phone call from the store where I'd taken my car, and they said, we understand you had a problem. We've sent a tow truck to you. We're going to pick your car up and clean it and bring it back to you. And that's exactly what they did. The real value of this interaction that they've had with me on Twitter, and now I'm telling you this story because it was such a powerful interaction for me, is that they took a negative where I was complaining about, I had a legitimate complaint, and they turned it into a positive, and they did it in front of all of my friends on Twitter. Now, I don't have a huge Twitter following, like something 600 people, 500 people follow me on Twitter, but those are 500 people to whom I communicated what a great experience I had with Firestone.
And the point of that, remember, is that people are seeing that in public too. So it's the one-to-one, but it's also the conversation that's seen by everyone else too, and that has a magnified impact.
Right. The first thing that a lot of our bigger corporate clients that are more conservative and they know they got to do something in social media, but they don't know how to do it, and we're going to help them with that. They say, well, what happens if somebody says something bad about us on our Facebook page? And I say, well, you want them to do it on your Facebook page because people are going to say good and bad things about you, whether you participate in that conversation or not. And especially in an instance where you're going to run for office or you're going to have an organization that you're trying to do good things with and change the world, people are going to talk about you. And you should have them do it. You should provide them a channel in which to do it so that you can take those negatives, even with people that are being incredibly unreasonable, and turn them into positives and say, I'm sorry you had that experience, or I'm sorry that you feel that way. What can we do to make it right? Mm-hmm. Because when you do that, you're doing that not just between them and you, but it's also everyone that follows you across all your social properties and everyone that person is friends with, especially on something like Facebook. So you're going to earn fans with the kind of good, individualized PR that you can't buy with advertising.
Yeah, exactly. And so kind of to wrap this up, again, the action items is that you've already created a Twitter account. If you had one before tonight, great. If you're creating one because we're prompting you tonight, then the next thing to do is to jot down these two. Oh, and I did that wrong. Jeez, the pound sign. It's the @ sign. So these are not topics, but these are actually the names of the two examples that Josh mentioned. So our governor of Texas, Rick Perry, is TexGov, T-E-X-G-O-V, and follow him and see how he uses it. And then also Cory Booker that was mentioned, C-O-R-Y, and there's no E in his name. You'll get someone else. So C-O-R-Y-B-O-O-K-E-R. And those will be examples of how you can see this in action.
And the one-to-one engagement actually brings us to the next topic, which is I call this the All Access Pass. When I was a young guy and I would volunteer on campaigns, and I was first working on campaigns, one of the most counterintuitive things that I encountered was that sometimes a campaign organization or a nonprofit organization, that all of these organizations run on volunteers, and a lot of them, because they're so mission focused and because maybe they don't have a good communications plan or they don't really understand about how PR works, they were also very insular. So even though bringing as many people in that were wanting to help and making use of their individual talents was the best possible thing that they could do, it was hard to get in. It was hard to feel welcomed. It was hard to feel like you were a part of something. And that, from the outset, when you show up and you want to be a part of something and it's hard to get started, that makes it very difficult for you to culturally identify with this thing that you want to be a part of that ideally is going to be bigger than you. Essentially, you have to make a pledge, and I think it's an ethical imperative to want to be as transparent and as open and as accessible as possible. And if you do that from the beginning with your communications plan, if you've got a well-formed plan for communications, if you've got good infrastructure, if you know what you're going to say and you know how you want to say it, and you are ready to have people in the circle, and you're ready to not carefully guard your language, and you're ready to have people be involved in what it is that you do, which you're going to have to be. If you have formed these good habits through your use of social media, if you've brought the circle, you've brought everybody in, and people feel like they can be a part of what you're doing, then that's going to make it much easier for you to have an organizational openness. It's going to make it easier for you to have an environment where when people show up to help or to volunteer their time or their money or both or their expertise, that they're going to feel welcome.
That's interesting. I had never really thought of that, but I totally get what you're saying, because it's kind of an open door, and I'm trying to think of how to visualize something larger than a door, because you really just have this whole wide open. Yeah. So it's like just here, everybody join this, and so that when it does come the time, which we all want, is for people to cross over from online to the physical world at some event or volunteer activity, then it kind of eases them into that. That's very cool.